Hey everyone, it's Elliott, and welcome back to the channel. So growing up, I was a huge fan of like Vi, Satriani, Yngwie, Eric Johnson, Petrucci, Buckethead, like etc., like the go-to guitar gods for someone going like, hey, how crazy can guitar get? It obviously gets quite crazy, as you can imagine, like growing up listening to like Green Day or Three Doors Down on the radio, and then all of a sudden listening to Satriani and Vi like shred their brains out in all these different modes, all these different kind of arrangements. It's pretty intense. I remember being confused obviously by a lot of it, and one of the things that stood out to me though was Satriani always talking about pitch axis theory. I remember being confused about it growing up, and I think it's in part because it's not really a theory any more than it being cold outside so I wear a sweater and now it's cold theory. It is, however, a wonderful technique if you're composing. I did also find out, which is what this video is about, that it's a really good way to practice your ear training. If you like what you see here today, please check out the links in the description, hit that subscribe button, and help me grow the channel. I'd really appreciate it. So Satriani's pitch axis theory, boiled down to ear training purposes, would be like holding a drone of an E and then playing different modes over it to really get the idea of the change in modes. Sometimes, which has come up with a lot of students, is like if we're holding something in G, a regular G progression that is, it can be kind of difficult to go like, oh, that's G Ionian, C Lydian, D Mixolydian, being like, but isn't it all G? And being like, well, yeah, it's also that. It's all G, and it's those three things, and it's all the other modes available in G, and it's so many things at once, it's kind of confusing, kind of annoying. Versus just playing G, and then going like, okay, this is going to be G Ionian, and this is going to be G Lydian, this is going to be G Mixolydian, and this is going to be G Mixolydian sharp 4. You know, it's really easy to tell the difference when your main chord is the one that's changing, modes. Because as guitarists, we have the wonderful opportunity to just go and then start playing around. I would highly recommend setting your own drone for yourself, or by all means, if you have a looper pedal or something like that, just hitting and then looping that, for forever. I do kind of like the more do-it-yourself non-looper way, but if you can make a really nice loop of a bunch of different chords, and then maybe try to do it by ear, change modes by ear, that could be interesting as well. Today, we're going to do just an open string. So here's a quick example of E Ionian using this method. Right? Simple enough. But if I wanted to really get a better grasp of like, okay, so, well then what's Ionian going to Lydian, going to Mixolydian? What do these modes really sound like? I might not want to go and switch. I would just do this. Start with Ionian. Lydian. Mixolydian. And already you can see how I'm kind of immediately starting to like get some Satriani-isms in my playing. Like it's really easy to start doing start to kind of add some ornamentation, add some playing around, and that's what makes this fun as well. Like when you can remember that if you're thinking in intervals, like, like a whole, half, whole, half, or you're looking at frets, or you're doing whatever, if you're mapping everything out on one string and you get used to it enough, you start to really play the scales in a new way and really kind of, over that drone, hear what it brings to the table. So obviously you can use more than just the top string, but I'd highly suggest starting out with like low E drone, high E only, and then high E and B, high E, B, and G, maybe just the B, just the G, etc. But when you go to 2 and 3 strings, sometimes you can end up with some really wonderfully dense and dramatic voicings. Check this out. I'm not Satriani, but it doesn't not sound like a Satriani intro. So now thanks to this technique, I can play some more intricate ideas where it might be a little bit tricky, chord voicing wise. I can just do this. Get the same effect as well as like slightly more lead effect and a slightly different sound, and then I can add on top of it, because by doing this you end up really knowing your scales up each string. And so check this out. Switch to Ionian. Let's switch to Mixolydian. Switch to Dorian. Aeolian. I liked it kind of in the Mixolydian. I guess that's growing up with a lot of blues or something, I don't know. But again, you can see how all of a sudden it's a lot easier to kind of spot, where the triad is. You really get used to living in that mode, and whether or not you know all your scales in that area yet, if you know them on the high E and you go through and set that like drone that you're living in Ionian, for instance, when you start playing around and you kind of know it on the B or G string, you really know when you're off. It'd be like having a box of chocolates or something and you're like, yeah, this tastes like chocolate, and then one of them tastes like throw up. Another part of this exercise that's just kind of like an add-on is like you're really gonna know how in tune your guitar is. Especially if you're on a short scale instrument, your low E might go like wow and kind of even out, and you're really gonna start to notice things like that. I would honestly use the opportunity, like if you're kind of out of tune up here or kind of out of tune up here or whatever, to either one, not lose your mind, just check if your strings are really old, change your strings. But if it's actually out of tune, if your intonation is actually off, take the opportunity to learn how to intonate. And trust me, you'll be very, very thankful for the opportunity. You're probably not going to break your guitar. If you play just a standard like two pneumatic bridge or a tele bridge or a strat bridge or something like that, you can have an easier time with it. Just look it up. Give yourself an opportunity to learn how to intonate and then really experience an intonated guitar with this exercise. Because with poor intonation, and granted these are a little bit old strings, so some of this, I might pull a little out of tune, but at a dramatic level, you might get that, or something like that, which would be pretty nasty. No one really, that's not a mode, that's just out of tune. Or maybe out of tune Lydian, you'll really know out of tune Lydian, but you really don't, you want a truer B flat in this case. I guess technically A sharp, my bad. Sorry, my bad. Another way to learn this would be learning some open string riffs, or playing some riffs in E with open strings ringing. So like, right, like that riff, if I wanted to go like beautiful minor riffs, beautiful Aeolian riffs or something like that, that would be a fantastic example. And trying to play that you're really kind of starting to like take the riff, maybe change around some of the rhythms, change around some of the note order, and you really get like, oh, this is Aeolian. Another one, of course, would be like, not exactly how it's played, but you know what song it is, I'm sure. If you know, you know. And obviously this is a very imprecise, but again, you get the idea of Mixolydian. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of Foo Fighters riffs use open strings, so maybe learn a handful of Foo Fighters riffs. So I hope you have a fun time with this week. I imagine there's going to be a few things that you're going to play that you're like, I didn't know I had that in me. That sounds really cool. If you don't already have a working knowledge of a lot of different modes, I'm going to be putting up some scale diagrams on my Patreon. Link is in the description. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you all next week.